Hi, friends. This is Sunil Chandy. I'm here at our daily show, Food for Thought, and I want to thank you for joining us. We have a number of people already online, 10 people, and I want to thank you for being with us and joining us at this on this Monday afternoon. I know that it is this weekend has been a wonderful weekend, and so especially for our congregation and for people in general. It's been spring is starting to come out, and it's a joyful and hopeful time, I think. And so, want to thank you especially for joining us today, especially in this time when we're dealing with a major challenge throughout our country and throughout the world. But we still see hopeful signs of spring and of joy, and we relish in that sense of joy and hope. Good afternoon, Natalie and Christy. Thank you for being with us. Meg, how are you? Jan, how are you? Dale, good afternoon to you too. Sandra, good to see you. And I love I love your little puppy picture over there. And I'm glad that you're also happy and doing well. One of the great things, one of the things that I miss is seeing people in our community together, and being able to enjoy a sense of fellowship and of joy with the people in our community. But we're doing what's necessary for the moment as we continue to keep safe at home, and we do our part to limit the progression of this virus that is affecting many people throughout the world. And by our actions, by our staying at home, by our limitations in our movement at this time, we're actually helping the virus, the eradication of the virus, I mean. And so I thank you all for doing your part in this great effort. So today, even though it is hard not to see people in person, I do relish the moments that we do connect together. This time when we are connecting together for this half hour to see what, just encourage one another, and then also to in these programs to interview people who are doing great things in our community and to encourage them, listen to what they're doing, and maybe collaborate and participate in their great efforts to make the world a better place as they shine the light of God in their various places and community. And today we have a wonderful guest from the Johnnycake Center, and I'll introduce her to you in a few moments or in a few minutes. But I did want to share that there are times, even though we're in less than ideal situations, we still should relish the moments that we do have. This Sunday was the first time that we did our virtual coffee hour experience at church, and there were some hiccups getting on to the Zoom platform that we all engaged in. But once we got on board, it was just wonderful. We were able to see images of our parishioners, and we were able to connect with them, and we had people from London participating in the Zoom coffee hour, and of course they watched the service, and we were connecting in a way that was powerful. And one of us said, when are we going to get back to normal? And my answer was, I don't know when we are going to get back to normal, or if we are going to get back to the normal that we have in our minds. It might be a new way of looking at our ministry and a hybridized version of what we have already. But what it is, what I do, what I ask them to focus on is just the moment that we have, the relishing of this joy that we have, the ability to connect with one another, to see each other, even if it's just on a screen. And so I think that's important, especially as we think about what we might have lost. Maybe what we do is focus on what we have, uh, to be grateful for what we have, the opportunity to connect, the opportunity to do it in a creative way, the opportunity for our church as a church community to be creative, to let God's creative power work through us to reach out in new ways to different people around the world. Um, and so I'm hoping that you all will focus in on the joy that you do have. The other day, I had on Food for Thought. I had one of my cousins, my youngest cousin, or he's younger than I am. He's my first cousin, and he was watching the show, and I haven't talked to him for about 5 years, really, in terms of a really good conversation. And so, right after the Food for Thought, I called him, and and we just entered into this wonderful long conversation. And he's going to be such an intelligent, wise man. And I used to remember him as just my little cousin. He used to, hang around me, and then of course, he grew taller than I was. Almost everybody does. um, but I just was relishing um, the joy that we had with one another. Um, so, my friends, if there's any positive message for today's program, it would be just to relish the good that you have in your life. Don't discount it. There is good in your life. Uh, and if you don't see it, try harder. Try harder to see it. Appreciate those people and situations that you have that make your life joyful. And when you do that, you'll find that, at least for me, um, the challenges seem much smaller than and much more. I'm able to handle it much better because I know that there are gifts that I have, gifts and joy that I have within my life. I think that's the Easter mindset. I mean, if you think about Mary Magdalene, who comes to the cross, to the tomb, the empty tomb, and in her tears, she is not able to recognize anything of the joy around her, and especially the risen Christ who stands right in front of her. She couldn't recognize him because of her tears. She was thinking too much of her sadness. And the moment Jesus says her name, Mary, then all of a sudden her vision becomes clearer. The tears don't stop her from seeing the very presence of God in front of her. My friends, I think that's what we're called to do. We're called to have eyes that recognize the very presence of God in before us, so that we don't go caught up in all the challenges, but rather we see the opportunities and the hope that God might provide us. There are many blessings that we have in our community, and one of the great blessings is not just the beautiful nature that we have. We live in one of the most beautiful places, parts of the country and in the world. Honestly, we live near a beautiful ocean. We have rivers. We have a beautiful land, and but all of that pales next to the beauty of our community. There's a beautiful a sense of community here that's wonderful. People take care of one another. People care for one another. I think I heard the wonderful phrase, and it's not limited to just this region, particular town actually, but I've heard this wonderful word, the Westerly Way. And the Westerly Way, as I understand it, is a way of love. It's a way of reaching out to friends, neighbors, to do kind, and to do good for the community. And again, it's not restricted only to Westerly, right? We see it also in Stonington and all of Rhode Island, Connecticut, Southwest, in this Southwest area. And then, of course, the Westerly Way points to the way of love. And so it is the way of Christianity. It's a way of hope. It's the way of Jesus. It's the way that the world is made better. And so, but we have people who are steeped in this Westerly way of caring for one another and people in our community. And one of the organizations that we have is this great organization, the Johnnycake Center of Westerly. It was started in 1975, and it is a wonderful social service community institution. And they do many great activities. And today we have our guest, who is Sarah Shaw. She's the pantry manager, and she's going to be talking to us a little bit about the Johnnycake Center, this great group that does so much good work for our community. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Sarah. Sarah joined the Johnnycake Center in November 2015. She received her Bachelor of Science degree in Health Studies from the University of URI, where she focused her studies on health promotion across the lifespan. And prior to the Johnnycake Center team, Sarah was the assistant manager of greenhouses at Shackner Farms in Exeter. So not only can Sarah tell us how to sneak more vegetables into our diet, but she can also give us pointers on how to grow those vegetables as well. And I think, and you'll find that this young lady is a very joyful young lady. Ben, would you bring Sarah on board? Hi, Sarah. How are you doing?
Hi, Father. I'm well, thank you.
Thank you for being with us. You have such a wonderful bio and of course, all the work that you're doing. And then Johnnycake Center, I'm just so happy and grateful that you're here with us to talk a little bit about all of that and share your passion.
Thank you. I'm so happy to join you today.
Yeah. Tell us about the Johnnycake Center. What are some of the services that you offer? How do you find yourself in this particular moment, in this moment of challenge, and how are you dealing with the challenges of this moment?
Sure. We like to consider ourselves a really all-encompassing social service agency for the town of Westerly and its surrounding towns. Not only are we the food pantry, which a lot of us are most familiar with. We're also the thrift store, which everybody is missing very much right now as we navigate our reopening. But we also provide a bevy of services through the social service office, from financial assistance for folks in need. And we also have, even though people can't be on site with us right now, we still resource out to or send people out to get information from the domestic violence advocates. SNAP URI benefit folks are usually there. We have health insurance companies come in. National Grid usually will come in and sit with folks to help navigate their needs. We really try to touch on every part of people's lives that we possibly can.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, of course, ever since I got here about 5 years ago, I've heard about the Johnnycake Center and all that it does. And what I usually do is when I come into a community, a new community for me, and Rhode Island was very new to me at that time, I seek out those institutions that are making, that are helping the community, and
Yep.
and I look for ways to partner with them. And of course, Christ Church has always been doing. We have members who are on the board at Johnnycake Center. We our people just love working with the Johnnycake Center. And presently we are working. We have a collaboration with you all, working through Marian, who is our coordinator for the closet, the living supplies closet that we have. because right now we really can't open our building, and so you opened you gave us an opportunity to work through you as we're doing this our work. So could you explain a little bit of that and how that's working?
Absolutely. Marian reached out probably about a month or so ago now. Time is very strange for all of us, as we know. But she reached out to see if we would be able to partner with you guys to keep the living supplies closet going. The first couple of tries, it worked okay, putting items in the foyer, but inclement weather and things like that really became a concern. We have the space, and as you know, we're serving the same population, the same clientele. So it really just seemed like a natural fit. Since we would normally refer folks over to you guys to receive those goods and services, it just really seemed to make perfect sense for us over at the Johnnycake Center to take that on as part of what we can do for our community right now.
Yeah, and so we appreciate, appreciate this help that you're giving us with this ministry, and again, it's an example of good collaboration. At the time when we first, I think when we first opened the Living Supplies Closet, this wasn't. We were kind of unique in our area, and there weren't. And I don't even think at the time, I'm not sure, but if Johnnycake was in this particular Westerly region. And so this idea was, I thought for us, it was very unique. And now we're able to collaborate with you, and we could reach more people to help more people.
Absolutely. Yeah, we might have still been in Bradford when you guys started the supplies closet. So
I think that's what Marian was explaining to us.
Yeah.
And so I want to thank you again for allowing us to do ministry this way.
No, it's been wonderful. And Marian has just been incredible. She reaches out on a weekly basis, seeing where we are at supply wise. And I'm able to let her know what I'm able to procure from my distributors. So we've been able to, like you said, collaborate that way as well to help spread the funds around as well, which is very important right now.
Yeah, definitely. And so tell me about the food pantry. How is it going in terms of the need out there, and especially as you project out the needs over the next 3 to 4 months, even if we are in a protracted situation at home or whatever.
Yep. So at first it was challenging to navigate. It seemed like we were changing our operations on a daily basis to try to keep up with the way the virus was moving and to keep everybody safe. We did see a little rush in our activity at the beginning. I think just as nerves kind of were getting to everybody. Our numbers have kind of steadied off since then, but we are prepared to see a spike in that, to see an increase in need, just as public funding kind of either changes or dwindles. It's so hard to predict what this is actually going to look like in the next couple of months. As we've seen in the national news, there's been hiccups in supply chains and things like that. So our mission up until this point is to really establish a good supply, basically. So when and if the numbers do start to increase again, that we'll be ready to handle that. So my team of volunteers and myself have been working on that for the last couple of weeks for sure.
And where do you?
And I do feel like this is a perfect time to do a nice little shout out to the. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Shout out. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I just need to thank the Rhode Island Community Food Bank, because they have been supporting us nonstop, prior to this, of course, but straight through this crisis. And they have been absolutely amazing. So I just need to do that.
We'll hold them in prayer too. Definitely. Both of you.
Yes.
And what type of foods are we seeing more of a demand for? And what is there a scarcity of?
Sure. We pride ourselves in supplying our guests with whole ingredients and things like that they can then turn into meals for their families. Fresh produce is one of the things that we pride ourselves on being able to offer out every week or every 30 days as people come in. But, every time someone visits, those are the things that we're really striving to have: fresh dairy, things like that. Oddly, getting canned vegetables has been one of the challenges. Again, we have a good supply, but as we noticed that, like I said, again, the little hiccups in the supply chain, that's where we're probably going to have to shop out beyond the food bank to supply our shelves with that.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Would you even consider like local farms, if they have donations, or maybe even, with your background in horticulture and working in the Shackna farms, maybe helping us, maybe even thinking about gardening at our own,
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great thing. So we do partner with Hope's Harvest, which is an amazing nonprofit that goes around to local farms that may not be able to harvest everything in time, or there's a surplus. Right now, the biggest surplus we've seen in fresh produce is because of the restaurant closures. So we have definitely been able to capture a lot of fresh produce that way.
Okay.
And as it is, I am now heading up our community garden over at the Charlestown Senior Center and Integrate Park area. And that's also been, an interesting year to take over for sure. But we've been trying to navigate how to safely get the volunteers back in there. We're actually meeting tomorrow to kind of discuss our planting schedule, as it will need to change a little bit, as far as social distancing goes and keeping stuff going. But we're ready for the challenge.
It'll be interesting if you could take some videos of it, in the process. It would be really lovely to see.
Absolutely.
I think, and maybe put it on your website or something. I'd love to navigate and check it out. My grandfather was a farmer, and I'll tell you that gene did not rest. And my father used to love gardening, but there was this wonderful feeling of accomplishment as you grew things.
Yes.
And it takes time to nurture it and everything, and to weed it and to provide the appropriate environment. And I found myself always without patience to do that. But I always love seeing the growing process. And in a way, it's kind of like the work we do sometimes, even in social service agencies. I mean, poverty will never be eradicated. All we could do is just slowly nurture our community so that we learn to move out of it slowly at least in my vantage point, as we continue to help people overcome expectations that are unrealistic, help people find strength and courage to take risks, especially those who are in compromised situations, and then to have people in our community to kind of know that it is our responsibility to help our neighbor, And so it's kind of like this wonderful. I think it's like a garden type of experience. A nurturing environment is what we need, And people like you and the Johnnycake Center do that, and we're grateful for that.
Thank you very much. It is very much like a gardening situation where if you provide, what people need, they'll grow and they'll thrive, and that's exactly what we hope to do at the Johnnycake Center.
What drew you to this type of work? It's not easy work, I know.
No, it's not, and especially in times like these, it's been very challenging. It's interesting. So this past weekend was my 5th anniversary from graduating at URI. I wasn't a returning college student, and I just remember upon graduation, like many other grads, looking through Indeed and thumbing through, and when I stumbled across the ad for the food pantry manager, it listed all these different aspects that I realized in my adult life, from working from high school until my early 30s, that it really had bits and pieces of everything that I had done leading up to this point. And it's always been in my nature to want to help people and to make other people feel good. And to tie it all together with the degree path that I chose was really an amazing thing for me. At one point, again, towards graduation, I remember thinking to myself, wow, this is a really open-ended degree. I should have gone to nursing school, or I should have done something very specific, very focused, because it was a little, intimidating at first to find that perfect job. But I've said it 1,000 times in the last almost 5 years now that this really is the most amazing position for me, and it suits me very well, and I hope I suit the role as well as it suits me.
I'm sure you do. I mean, there's passion, I'll tell you, my first degree was a BS degree in pharmacy, and I loved pharmacy. I was a pharmacist for a bit, but God moved me in a different path, and a path that I never imagined or even would have conceived of at the beginning of college.
Yeah.
But I would not do anything other than this. This is, if I had all the money or all the comforts in the world, this is what I'd be wanting to do,
That's
and
fantastic.
and I think that's part of it is what I sense in your story. I mean, there's sometimes we go through these twists and turns, but ultimately we get to the place where we ought to be,
Yep.
and it seems like you love the work that you're doing because it's meaningful work.
It is.
Yeah, and it's making a difference in the people around you.
I sure hope so.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. So how is it that we can help? How is it that our church can continue to help you in your work as you help our community?
You guys have been incredible supporters of the Johnnycake Center, and really just keeping us in your prayers is a very important thing right now. Again, the relationship we have, keeping the living closet together, is that's just a great thing. Normally this is when I would do a food drive plug, but we're not accepting any food donations right now, just to keep things safe. But really, just keep us in your hearts and your prayers, and don't forget that we're here doing the work that we're doing.
Yeah. What about so financial contributions? Would that be appropriate? Yeah.
Always. Monetary donations are something that we can still receive right now, thankfully. It can be done right through our website. You could mail a check to the center, and that all goes, you can choose which program you'd like that to go towards, to keep us functioning. Absolutely.
Sure. We will. I'm sure that people will continue to support you, and our folks will also. But if you do some videos on the gardening, we're in the program that you're doing, I would love to see it. I'd love to see progress, and maybe you might even inspire me to put a couple of seeds in a couple of different.
Fantastic. I will.
All right, Sarah, God bless you. Thank you again for doing all that you do. And
thank you. It's a team. It's an amazing team.
Yes, I'd love to meet. I think maybe we'll try to get Lee Eastbourne on here one of these days. Maybe some of your other the people in leadership too, just to see how we could continue to do the work of collaboration.
Very well.
God bless you, Sarah. Do you know what your name means, by the way? Do you know what your name means, right?
I do and I don't.
It means princess. Princess.
Yeah. I try not to live up to the princess side of things too much.
Well, I know this because my mother's named Sarah too, and so it's like she's my princess. She's like one of those queens, right? And so.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Well, and so do continue to do your work, Sarah. You're doing great, and
thank you.
And you'll be in our thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too. Bye, folks. Again, an example of people who are doing some great work here, following the Westerly Way, the way of love, and the way to do good in the world. And so I hope that you will continue to hold them in your prayers as you hold all these people who are working on the front lines of this crisis. The people who are working in the food banks, they're in the front lines. Johnnycake Center is on the front line of this crisis. There are many people who are going to be without jobs, without work, and even after the stimulus money that is offered to many through the government, it dries up. there's going to be some people who are facing some challenging situations. So continue to support the organizations that do good work, and then also continue to pray for them. And let us end our time together with prayer. The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Jesus Christ, you traveled through towns and villages, curing every disease and illness. At your command, the sick were made well. Come to our aid now in the midst of the global spread of the coronavirus. Heal those who are sick with the virus. May they regain their strength and health through quality medical care. Heal us from our fear, which prevents nations from working together and neighbors from helping one another. Be present with those in authority who are making hard decisions. Support the medical professionals, emergency responders, teachers, and students. Support our local food banks and organizations like Johnnycake Center. Support and our caregivers. We ask all of this in your name, Jesus. Amen. Let us say the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Friends, go and spread the light of God to the world. The world needs it right now. Thank you.